I helped my girlfriend rebuild her life after her divorce, only to discover she was still sharing our moments with her ex as if I never existed. My name is Aaron, I'm 34 years old, and I guess you could say I've always been the kind of guy who tries to fix things, broken furniture, broken plans, broken people. Maybe that's why when I met Leah, she fit so neatly into that quiet ache I carried, the one that needed to make something right again. She was 31, recently divorced, and had this calm exhaustion about her, like she was holding herself together with invisible tape. When we met, she wasn't the type to smile easily, but when she did, it felt like the air in the room softened a little. I didn't fall for her fast, I fell for her slowly, piece by piece, as I learned the story behind those tired eyes. Leah had been married to a man named Daniel. They'd been together since college, nearly a decade, and from what she told me, their relationship had slowly withered into something quiet and resentful. She said the divorce had been mutual, that they had simply grown apart, but every now and then, her voice would tremble when she mentioned him, like there were layers of pain buried deep beneath her calm explanations. I never pushed. I told myself that everyone heals in their own way, and I wanted to be patient. We met at a small cafe near the office where I worked as a project coordinator for a construction firm. She was sitting alone with a notebook and a cup of tea, sketching something absent-mindedly. I remember making a comment about how I could never keep plants alive, and she looked up, half smiling, and told me that succulents were the only ones forgiving enough for people like us, people who forgot to water the things that needed attention. I didn't know then how ironic that sentence would become. Over the next few weeks, we ran into each other often, sometimes by accident, sometimes because one of us had subtly planned it that way. She was trying to restart her life, she said, learning to live alone again, figuring out who she was after years of being half of something that had stopped working. I admired that. I'd never been divorced, but I had my own history of loss. My father had died when I was 26, and since then, I had learned that rebuilding is never simple. Maybe that's why I felt so drawn to Lee. We both understood the quiet struggle of trying to start over. When we finally started dating, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, natural. She would invite me over to her apartment on the weekends, and we'd cook together, sometimes talking, sometimes saying nothing at all. She liked to sit on the floor with a glass of wine and a blanket wrapped around her shoulders while I made dinner. I'd watch her, thinking how strong she seemed, even in her fragility. She told me stories about the house she used to share with Daniel, how they'd bought furniture together and argued about what color to paint the bedroom walls. She said she wanted to repaint everything in her new apartment to feel like herself again. So one Saturday, I brought over brushes and buckets of pale green paint, and we worked side by side until midnight, our clothes stained and our laughter echoing through the empty rooms. It felt like I was helping her build something new, not just a home, but a version of herself that didn't depend on her past. I didn't realize at the time that maybe she wasn't ready to let that past go. There were little signs, ones I brushed off because I didn't want to believe they meant anything. Full story on my channel, link below.